Word problems. Okay, this particular kinds of word problems are number problems. So let's start. There is a number, so I've said 3 times the number. So minus 6 is equal to 45. The simplest way to do this would be to let x be your number, right? That's the first thing we got to do. And then it says that this number, 3 times this number, 3 times the number, so we say 3 times the number, minus 6 is equal to 45. And of course the rest is pretty straightforward. We just solve for the value x, add 6 to both sides. That means 3x is equal to 51. Divide both sides by 3 equally. Then x will be just 17. And how do you know if this is correct? Well, it says 3 times the number. So if you multiply this by 3, you should end up with, let's see, 3. Let's just do it by hand. 3 times 17 times 3. 3 times 7 is 21. Carry the 2. 3 times 1 is 3, 4, 5. So we get 51. But it says if I subtract 6, subtracting 6, I do indeed get 45. Okay, pretty straightforward. So let's just move on to the next problem. Suppose I have this problem that says the sum of 2 numbers is 41. The larger number is 1 less than twice the smaller number. Well, the best way to do is start with let x be smaller number, I suppose, and then the other number would be 2 times the number, the smaller number, and it says the larger number is 1 less than twice the smaller, so I have to subtract 1, right? Okay, so if I combine these two, I get 3x. And then the sum, because that's what we're doing, is the sum of the 2 numbers is 41. Okay, so if I solve again here, 3x equals 42, divisible by 3, I believe, divide by 3, then x just becomes 14. And always check your numbers, right? When you plug it back in, you've got to make sure that this thing makes sense. Okay, I have a couple more problems for you guys. Let's see. Now this one's a little more difficult. This one says separate 90. Right, you got to take 90 and break it up into 2 parts so that one of them is 4 times the other. Well, you know that if you break something up, something like a bar, right, you're going to have to cut it somewhere. But this one doesn't say that one of them is going to be the same as the other. So what you got to do is alright, this guy has got to be 4 times the other. So that means that if I take it in half, and that in half, one of them has to be x, and the rest of it has to be, since the total thing is 90, correct? If the whole thing is 90, then I gotta say, okay, well then the rest is gonna be 90 minus x, right? So here's your first part, here's the other part. Combine the two. Now let's see, separate into 2 parts so that one of them is 4 times the other. So we have to say, alright, let's see, 90 minus x it's got to be equal to 4 times the other part. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times x, right? Because you have 1x, 2x, 2x, and so forth. So now if we solve for x, then 90 is equal to 5x, and Rx will be equal to, let's see, 90 divided by 5, that gives us 18, I believe. And if you plug it in and check your work, you can clearly see that this will work. Now we have one more problem to work before our time is up. Now this one's a little more complicated. Well, there are two numbers whose sum is 53. 3 times the smaller number is equal to 19 more than the larger number. Again, we're going to have to break this up into two parts, right? So here again, let x be equal to the smaller, and then the other will be, the rest will be, well, if you had 53 and then you remove that amount, there will be your remainder, or the other part. We'll call that the larger part. And then the sum of the two must be 53. So we're going to say, okay, 3 times the smaller number, or let's read it correctly. 3 times the smaller number is equal to 19 more than the larger number. So 3 times the smaller number. So 3 times the smaller number is 19 more than the other number. So let's see. I'm going to have to add 19 to the other part, and the other part, of course, is 53 minus x. And then from here you can just solve for x. 3x equals 53 minus x plus 19. And then if I rearrange, I move the x to the other side, I get 4x equals to 53 plus 19. Together will give me 4x equals 72. And of course x must be equal to 18. Okay. I hope that helps. Plug it back in and double check your work.